What's up, guys? Coach Jay back at you for another video. Over the weekend on DAZN, we had Vergil Ortiz versus Maurice Hooker, and it was an excellent fight. Both guys put it all out there. Strategies proved to be key, right? And so what we saw was kind of the changing of the guard, the uprise of a new talent, a new, prospect. We knew he was great. He was good, a very good prospect, but now he's kind of moved into contender status. And that's Vergil Ortiz. He showed that he is somebody to be reckoned with at 147. I like what I saw, and I feel like, the Ramirez fight that Hooker fought was probably a good blueprint for what Vergil was going to be able to do against Maurice Hooker. He's a big puncher. He's aggressive. He comes forward, very similar to, Ramirez, but now at 147, and a bigger puncher, an even bigger, more crisp, sharper puncher. To me, Vergil Ortiz is very reminiscent of a young Canelo Alvarez. They have a similar, aura in that ring. Now, obviously, the current Canelo is leaps and bounds ahead of Vergil in terms of defense and, ring IQ at this very moment. But I think he has the potential to be one of the best in the sport, in a very near future. So, it was a good win for him. It was probably an expected win, but he didn't disappoint. And that's the most important part, right? He came in doing exactly what you thought he could do. Now, the flip side of that is he did get hit a little bit too much. But I think to some extent it was probably part of the plan. He probably sacrificed himself to be, part of the, to get hit a little bit and to just kind of wear him down little by little and just take his shots. Because listen, I think a lot of people overestimated Maurice Hooker's power. Like, I know he has some good wins. He's a sharp puncher, but I think, those were at lower weight classes, right? He never did it at 147, and he probably didn't do it against a guy like Vergil Ortiz to keep him honest through the fight. And I think, he did do pretty well. So, Hooker, did perform well, considering, that he did lose by knockout. But he showed a good account of himself. And I think he'll be fine at 147, but I think he definitely needs to change his strategy because he's not a power puncher there. He doesn't have the snap, he's got a long reach, so he can kind of accelerate a knockout in a way by having the reach, advantage in most of his fights. But he can't fight with the same kind of stand in front of you kind of fight. He's got to use his legs more. He's got to be shiftier and slicker. And he has the ability to do that. So I think he'll be good. So I think that, it's a loss. But it was an exciting fight. And he showed some things. And I think that's what we have to get back to in boxing, is that, having a loss isn't the end of the world. It's how you lost, it's how you lose, and what you showed in a loss. Did you show heart? Did you show some new wrinkles in your game? Did you show that maybe the guy who beat you isn't so outstanding, right? It didn't happen in this case, but it could happen in other fights, right? And I think he has a future at 147, especially as some of the guys at 147 may, gobble each other up at the top over time and clear out to other weight classes. And then, he kind of fills into the weight better and becomes more accustomed to 147. But Vergil Ortiz, man, listen, is he ready for a Crawford Spence right now? Listen, I would love to see it, but I don't think it should happen right away, because if that happens over fights like Spence versus Crawford, for instance, it would be a shame, right? We know it probably will, but it would be a shame for that to happen, because these guys have been in the weight class for so long and at the top holding belts. And if they don't fight each other and fight someone else who's going to kind of wreck the division, it's a shame for all the welterweights. You know, there's some other good matchups that can be made, you know, for him, you know, especially those B-level fighters, you know, former champions, guys who are contenders, you know, but he's still young and he still's got some growing to do. And I'm not the type of person, especially within boxing, to want to build a guy up too much now. I mean, you got to fight the best and show yourself. And I think that's the tide that needs to change within boxing right now. But you don't want to do it prematurely and, you know, kill his confidence, you know. And so I think that, yeah, take your time, fight the right fights, you know, but don't wait too long either, because he could be the beginning of a great legacy in this sport. And if you wait too long and you wait to have these fights, you end up becoming in the same position as Spence and Crawford in right now, where there's another fighter in the division who's, you know, people want to see you fight, and you're dancing around that idea for too long, and it hurts the sport. You know, let's put on great fights, put on great shows, and people will keep coming back whether you win or lose. You know, so Vergil Ortiz is a fighter to watch. If you don't know about him, get familiar with him, because I feel like he's going to be around for a while, and the future is bright for this kid. Now, let's talk about what would I change? You know, as Coach J, what would I want to change about his style? Definitely defense, right? I want him to get hit less. He's young. He can take some right now. You know, he's strong. He's durable. But you don't want to depend on that forever. It'll fade against the top, right? Excuse me. Once you fight the top of the division, you're not going to be able to fight that way. We've seen Keith Thurman do the same thing. He came in being a big puncher, just wearing guys down. And then when he fought the top, he realized, hey, I can't just do the same thing. I need to switch it up and do something different to win these fights without damage, you know what I'm saying? With that, you know, permanent damage that could come from fighting a style like that. So I think, you know, he should adopt some other wrinkles in his game while still maintaining that aggressive, you know, style that's going to make him an exciting fighter that people want to see. So adding just some more head movement, you know, using the jab more to set punches up even more than he already does, because he does do it, but he could do it even more. And just picking his spots. And I think, you know, he's on the path to greatness. Now, in the same regard for Maurice Hooker, right? So this was kind of a coming out party for him at 147 to say, hey, I'm here, and, you know, I'll fight anybody, and I commend him for that. But I think, like I said previously, he's got to use his reach to his advantage at every cost, because I don't believe he's the puncher that he used to be at 140, at 147. You know, because I really didn't see him back anybody up. You know, I didn't see him back up Ortiz or Ramirez really much at all, you know. And so I think you have to be slicker. You got to move. You got to, you know, like we've seen a lot of guys do this. Like Mayweather moved up in weight, and at 147, he wasn't a knockout artist. He became, you know, the matador. And I think, you know, Hooker has the physical tools to be a matador. So you got to adapt that more. Like you got to have that aggressiveness, but you can do it at range and still be the one perceived as the bull in a way. And you fight on your terms. Don't fight on their terms. You know, you start fighting on another guy's terms, you're fighting, you're doing what he wants you to do. So change that game, be the matador. You might be in less exciting fights, but I think you'll win more fights doing that. And I think in the long run, the true fans of the sport will understand that this is necessary for you to win and to keep moving, you know, building your legacy in boxing. So yeah, guys, that's all I got. Let me know your comments. What do you think about Vergil Ortiz? What do you think is the future for him? And what do you see the future is? What do you think the future is for Maurice Hooker? Where do you think he goes from here? All right. Peace.